Move on to a new form component that we'll see in 12.2, which is the new prescriptions form. Something important to keep in mind is that this new form is for all prescription refills, not only controlled substances or EPCS. There are many ways to launch the form, but we'll go the traditional route and click Refill Prescription. All right, so here it is. This is the new prescriptions form component. An important thing to see is the name of the form. It is the same name as the old refill form and therefore will replace the old form automatically in any document template or favorites that reference the prescriptions form, so that requires no manual intervention from you. Because of the size of my screen, I'm going to minimize the navigation area to make the most of the space, and then we'll take a look at the full landscape. Okay, let's start with the top banner. Notice if there is a picture of the patient, it will be here. We are then presented with the patient's name and below their sex, age, date of birth, and if they are recorded and signed, the patient's height and weight. We also see the outgoing authorizing provider and their information, which we saw in user setup. Notice the drop down in the DEA area. If the user has more than one DEA number, the provider can toggle as necessary. Moving to the left, we see the patient's current pharmacy and an area to select the pharmacy. Pharmacies here are from the patient's contact list or preferred pharmacies. Under that is the active medications, which can be viewed by all medications or filtered by medications associated with a specific problem. Note that when a pharmacy is not selected, the Renew button next to each active medication is grayed out. Not until a pharmacy is selected can we renew a medication, and that's an important concept to keep in mind. Moving to the middle of the form, any medication seen under the heading Update Prescriptions for Renewal will be refilled. By selecting a pharmacy and clicking Renew, medications on the left will move to the middle for refill. In the middle, we also see some quick navigation buttons. Starting with the Update Medications, selecting this pulls up the Update Medication dialog box, and that's the same action as the button in the uppermost banner. We also have the opportunity to view signed inactive medications. View the patient problem list. View their allergies. View their previous and next appointment. The View Interactions button will change colors based on the potential interaction. The button will be red for a major interaction, orange for a moderate interaction, or blue for a minor interaction. Clicking the button presents the user with more information and allows for overwriting. For formulary checking, the icon will change colors accordingly as well. Red means an error occurred, orange means eligibility is pending, and green means eligibility is active. By selecting the icon, the user can see the pharmacy benefit eligibility detail information. There are also other icons near the drug name. On the screen, we're showing what these icons mean. However, you can always hover over any icon on the form for the definition. Okay, let's move over now and go to the pharmacy area. To select a pharmacy, use the drop-down. If no pharmacy exists in the user profile, or if you want a different pharmacy, select Edit Pharmacy for the Select Pharmacy dialog box. Notice how I was able to quickly toggle between pharmacies. Note that the pharmacy now selected is different than the requesting pharmacy in the middle. We'll send the Alka-Seltzer to CVS Caremark by clicking Renew. Perfect. Clicking Renew brings the medication from the active med list into the middle and ready for renewal. And we can see here also that the medications are going to 2 different pharmacies. For the sake of the video, my screen is scrunched just a little, so I'm going to scroll over so that we can see everything. Excellent, much better. Okay, one more item to point out in terms of layout. Users will be able to tell if a medication here in the middle was manually requested or from the pharmacy by the icons associated with the med. If there are 3 icons, it is a request from the pharmacy. If there are 2, it's due to the user clicking Renew on the left. So just a tip there as to why they are different. So let's talk about these icons. The pencil allows the user to edit the prescription. What I call the no smoking symbol denies a request from the pharmacy. The user needs to select from the list of reasons why the medication is being denied. The ignore icon will simply remove the medication from the middle of the form so it's not completed during this document signing. If the request is from the pharmacy, the medication will remain in the RX Refill tab on the desktop until it's addressed. But this can be useful if there are multiple prescribers for one patient and the user is only authorized to renew for one. Ignore essentially saves it for later. If there is a controlled substance being renewed and it's electronic, that means the user must be eligible for EPCS in order to complete the medication. It is a DEA requirement that the user acknowledges the controlled substance before signing. If a controlled substance is part of the prescription refill, you will be prompted with the first component of your two-factor authentication. If there is not a controlled substance being sent electronically, the user will simply sign the prescription and move forward. The user would then be prompted to enter their network password. If signing within the form like we just did, when the middle area is blank, the user can move to the next task in the document template, or if they're done with the document itself, end and sign. If the user chooses to simply end without signing here in the form, that workflow can also be accommodated, and they'll be presented with a quick review pop-up at document signature. To see the document, we'll move to the Documents tab. Here we can see that the document type of RX Refill is displayed in the summary, along with the medications that were renewed. If we want to see this larger, we can select the icon to enlarge the document. And there you have it. Here's the text translation that comes from the prescriptions form. A quick recap of icons. We did talk about some of the icons that you'll see in the prescriptions form, but here is a quick reference of a few of the most common things that you'll see. See the release notes for all of the icons, or in your testing, try out different scenarios and watch the icons correspond with your selections, such as changing the prescribing method. Moving on now to another new and highly impactful area to your workflow for all medication refills, and this is the new RX Refill tab. Earlier in the session, we talked about new user security settings, 3 in particular: access RX renewals, access unmatched patients, and view other users' ERX renewals. Access RX renewals is the minimum security requirement to have to view this new area of the chart desktop. The RX Renewals tab in 12.2, whether you are participating with EPCS or not, is now where all prescription refill requests from the pharmacy will live. There is no longer a document that will get created and sent to a delegate. I will repeat that. All prescription refills will now come in from the pharmacy and live here on the RX Renewals tab. So let's take a closer look at this new area. A few important things to point out. First, notice the user that we are currently viewing. If the user has the security privilege, this can be changed to view and work another user's RX renewals. There are 2 areas across the top. One that shows matched and the other that shows unmatched patients. Unmatched patients no longer go through link logic. They will appear here on the tab directly to be matched. So by unchecking matched patients, the user can focus solely on that task. In the middle, we see the requested date from the pharmacy, the patient name, and the date of birth column. Something to point out, the NA in the birth date column does not mean that the patient doesn't have a date of birth in registration. It simply means that the patient is matched with what the pharmacy has on file, and the date of birth here on this screen is irrelevant. The birth date will only show if there is a mismatch. Next to that are two columns, new and pending. New is the number of requests coming from the pharmacy. Pending is how many medications are unsigned and inactive updates, which are likely on hold. The action buttons allow you to open the chart to review information, or you can save a click and open the new prescriptions form automatically. This button is simply launching the RX refill encounter. You can also filter by patient name or the requested date. To change users, select the magnifying glass. Search for the user. Select the user and then click OK. So this is our new delegate workflow. Because no documents will be created and sent to a user to work another user's prescription refills, what we just saw is the process. Also, to reiterate, LinkLogic no longer handles mismatched patients from Surescripts. It is a direct API call, so mismatched patients are here instead. Mismatched patients, as we saw just a moment ago, are identified with a broken link icon, and they have two actions: either deny the request or match the patient. To match the patient, we're going to search for them as normal, either by their name or date of birth. So we do have a Tad A. Dockendorf, but the date of birth is significantly different. In this case, you can either choose to match the patient by selecting them and then clicking OK, or clicking Cancel and then Deny on the RX Renewals tab. For the sake of the example, we'll match the patient. Notice that Tad Dockendorf number 1 has now moved. He's no longer highlighted in yellow, no longer has a visible date of birth, and the action icons have changed. Let's see how to deny an unmatched patient. So we will deny Tad number 2. And poof, Tad number 2 is gone and Tad number 1 is ready for his refill. This RX Renewals workflow and this screen is a big change from how this process works in previous versions. But once you get the hang of it, we're confident that it will be a time saver.